Alright, so in the previous video when I did quotient rule, or when I did product rule, sorry, I said the next one I was going to do was quotient rule. And then I got to looking at my notes and realizing that it kind of helps to do this one first. So we're going to do what's called the chain rule. And chain rule applies for composite functions. So when y equals f of g of x. And the question basically is, what is dy over dx? And remember, this means the derivative of y with respect to x. So that's ultimately what I'm looking for here. And that's kind of tough to do just based off f of g of x. And to do our other definitions with the limits, it gets really complicated. So I'm going to try to keep this as simple as I can. Not to say that it's going to be a simple explanation, but I'm going to try to do it in as basic terms as possible. So remember, basically we do g of x, we get a value, and we put it in for f, and get our final value. So let's say when we find g of x, we get a result to be u. Alright, just a generic result. G prime of x basically would be whatever the derivative of u is. Remember, this is derivative of u with respect to x. When I do f of g of x, it's the same thing then as finding f of u. Don't laugh, which is going to give me my end result, which is y. When I take the derivative of y, f prime of u, it has to be in terms of u in this case, because there's no x's. In f of u. So that means I have dy over du, and I have du over dx, and ultimately I want to get to dy dx. How do I do that? Well, let's see, I want dy over dx. Well, this has dx in the denominator, and this has dy in the numerator. And if I multiply these together, the du's cancel out. So I end up with dy over dx. Alright. So, let me show you a quick example so it makes a little bit more sense. Let's say f of x is x to the third power, and g of x is 3x plus 5. That means that f of g of x equals 3x plus 5 to the third power. And that we'll say equals y. dy dx equals what? Well, in this case we know our inner function, g, is 3x plus 5, and we're going to set that equal to u. So du dx is just the derivative of this, which is 3. F of u, so that gets put into there, equals u to the third power. And that's going to equal y. dy dx, or sorry, dy du equals 3u to the second power. Or this is power rule. And we know what u is, so it's 3 times 3x plus 5. Oops. The second power, getting kind of... That's better. dy dx, remember, is du over dx times dy over du, which is 3 times 3x plus 5 squared. So it's 9 times 3x plus 5 squared. And that becomes, let's see, 3x times 3x is going to be 9x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x times 2 is plus 30x. And 5 times 5 is 25. And when we distribute that, we get 81x squared plus, let's see, 9 times 30 is 270x plus 25 times 9 would be 225. And there's our derivative. Alright? So that's chain rule. Derivative of the inside times derivative of the outside. Alright, in the next video when we do quotient rule, you'll see where this comes into play. Alright, so I will see you in the quotient video.